So as of late, there's actually been a new invention called Starcrete, which is a concrete-like material that could actually be made from extraterrestrial dust. Scientists at the University of Manchester have essentially just developed a concrete-like material and used to build colonies on the moon and on Mars. Well, obviously, we'll talk about, how is it actually made, because the first prototypes of the material have actually been created with salt, potato starch, and, well, a simulated version of Mars dust, which is currently formed of volcanic rock, which is basically the entirety of Mars. And according to these researchers, this combination gives rise to a material that is actually twice as strong as ordinary concrete, which is perfect for constructing buildings that would be used to protect humans on the ridiculously harsh conditions when you're living in outer space. University of Manchester scientist Aled Roberts told, quote, "We will need meter-thick walls and ceilings to protect future inhabitants of lunar and Martian colonies from solar winds, cosmic rays, and pea-sized meteorites travelling faster than bullets." Starcrete is ideal since it's easy to make and the only ingredients are really moon or Mars dust and small amounts of salt and starch, which we know we'll have access to anyway, to feed the astronauts. So according to the team who've made this concrete, Starcrete, building an infrastructure in space is currently prohibitively expensive and very difficult to achieve. So therefore they, aim to offer an affordable and accessible construction material for use in outer space, which can be made with this really minimal processing equipment when you compare it to, traditional alternatives like normal concrete or the examination that they tried to do, which was actually 3D print buildings and facilities and factories in space, which, again, very expensive and confusing. Their test didn't just end on making Starcrete, they have actually used it and tested it, and the simulated Mars dust has actually twice as strong as ordinary concrete. Meanwhile, a version created with real moon dust actually had a strength even greater, of nearly 3 times as strong as traditional concrete. So, prior to, them using potato starch and salt, they were actually previously exploring how astronauts' blood could be used as a binding agent. Now, that sounds like a demonic sacrifice, but the resulting material did have a compressive strength of around 40 megapascals, so, the use of blood made it a less feasible option. But really, the goal that could be happening now, due to the strength of this concrete, is actually finding a way to use it as an alternative to concrete for buildings on Earth. Concrete accounts for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, so if there really was this way of developing this, low-carbon, plant-based alternative, such as Starcrete, it would have a huge, obviously positive impact. But, what really are the real concerns of living in outer space? Because if it's easy, why don't we just do it now? Well, on Earth, we're shielded by the planet's magnetic field and atmosphere from the majority of particles that actually make up the space radiation environment. So everyone on Earth is exposed to very low levels of radiation every day, from the food we eat to the air we breathe and so on. So in space, obviously, astronauts are very exposed to varied and increased levels of radiation that are very different from those on Earth. The 3 major sources that contribute to space radiation is particles trapped in the Earth's magnetic field, solar energetic particles from the sun, and, of course, the hellish and confusing galactic cosmic rays. Another issue is radios and communication, because, space stations orbit 240 miles above Earth, and the moon is 1,000 times farther from Earth than the space station, and in contrast, Mars is on average 140 million miles from Earth. So, with a communication delay of up to 20 minutes one way, while on Mars, astronauts have to pretty much solve problems and identify solutions as a team without the help of NASA Mission Control. Another big issue, gravity fields. Astronauts will encounter 3 different gravity fields on a Mars mission. So, one 6-month trek between the planets, crews will be weightless, while living and working on Mars, crews will be approximately a third of the Earth's gravity. And finally, upon returning home, they would have to readapt to the Earth's gravity, and depending on how long they stay for, if they decide to essentially live there, it would be a very drastic change for their body. And last but not least, I'll add this for my own sake, is probably the mental problems of, being isolated and confined. because expedition crews selected for a stay on board the space station are carefully chosen, trained, and supported to ensure that, they'll be able to work effectively as a team for the duration of their 6 to 12-month missions. Crews for Moon and Mars missions will undergo even more careful assessment and selection and preparation, since they will be travelling far, far further, and potentially for longer than previous humans in an isolated environment. With only a few other people around, crews will likely be international multicultural, making cross-cultural sensitivity and team dynamics, kind of making the mission more paramount to be successful. Well, I think I'll cut it short here. But let me know your thoughts on this. How long do you think it will take us to actually be able to live on Mars comfortably and, of course, safely? Thank you for watching.